Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. Today I'm talking about the exact moment you'll know that your ex misses you, okay? So if you're wondering, how am I going to know? How am I going to be able to tell if my ex misses me? How am I going to be able to tell if my ex wants to get back together with me? So there are a few clues that can start to indicate if your ex wants to get back with you, right? So I'll go through those quite quickly and then I'll go through another point that I want to make, right? So what you'll find, right, is if your ex misses you, right, they will reach out to you in some way, right? They will contact you. If they really do miss you and they still care about you, they still love you, they still want to be with you, they will reach out to you, okay? So what can this look like? Now, some of these are clues that your ex wants to get back with you, but don't take them too seriously until your ex actually messages you or calls you up or writes you an email or something like that, or WhatsApps you or text you, right? So they may add you. So let's say you're not friends on Facebook anymore. If they re-add you, that could be a sign that they are starting to miss you, right? But you shouldn't go gung-ho with that and message them first. Wait it out and see if they message you, because who knows, perhaps the reason they added you is because they want to be nosy, right? They may just contact you because they want to, just kind of snoop around, right? So don't take it too seriously. Don't go gung-ho with that, right? Because I get a lot of people who like, oh yeah, my ex blocked me, but then they suddenly unblocked me, so I'm going to message them. It's like, no, you don't know why they unblocked you. They might just have unblocked you because they want to be nosy and see what you're up to and see what you're doing. So don't take that too seriously, but it is an indication that maybe they will reach out to you very, very soon, okay? So another thing that you should kind of ignore as well, I kind of ignore most things on social media. Like, ignore things like, oh, if they watch all of your stories, because that could just mean that they're being nosy. Even ignore it if they like your posts and things like that. Ignore that. Ignore them even commenting on your posts and things like that, right? Ignore that too. If they retweet your tweets, right? Ignore that too, okay? The only thing you should take seriously is if they message you directly, right? If they and they are the one that's initiating the conversation, not you message them and you get a response out of them. They message you first, okay? So another few things that you need to take into consideration as well is if they do message you and they do reach out to you, what is the context of the message, right? And what I mean by this is if they say, hey, how are you? And you're like, hey, yeah, I'm doing really well, thank you, how are you? And they're like, yeah, I'm doing good. Hey, when can I pick up that bag of clothes of mine from your house? That's a bad sign, right? That's a bad sign because what they actually want, right, is to get their stuff, right? And they've just reached out to you to start a conversation so they can get to the real point, which is them wanting their stuff back, right? So if there's anything like that where they're asking for a favor or they're asking to collect something of yours, or it's something to do about finalizing the relationship, like they're asking you about signing the divorce papers or whatever, that's not a good sign, right? That's not a sign that they want you back. That's a sign of them trying to finalize things, okay? However, if you get a message like this, like they say, hey, how are you? And you're like, yeah, I'm doing well, thanks. How are you? And they're like, yeah, I'm doing really well. What have you been up to? And they're trying to like extend the conversation and they're asking you questions. They're just inquiring about you and how you're doing, basically. That's more of a sign that they want your attention, that they want to get back with you, and that maybe if you want to get back with them, you should say something like, yeah, well, it was nice having a little chat with you. When are you free to hang out? Okay. But that's what you've got to remember. That's the key point here that you need to remember. Are they just talking about you, wanting to find out about how you're doing, and they don't have any ulterior motives about collecting things, about signing papers, about anything to do with the kids, like, oh, can you pick up Timmy from football practice today? They're not asking you to do something or asking if they can do something about finalizing the relationship, then that's a no-go. That's a sign that they're not interested in getting back with you yet, okay? But if you get a message from them and they're solely inquiring about you, asking how you've been up to, generally just wanting a chit chat with you, that is more likely that they want to get back with you, and you have then the permission to see if, ask them when they're available to hang out. Like, say, hey, it was great hearing from you. We should have a catch-up time sometime. When are you free? Right? And then you can maybe reconnect things. So I highly recommend, if you haven't already, and I also recommend people who have already watched that to go back and watch it again. My video on my audio on how to get your ex back, please go and check that out, right? And watch it again and again and again and again, so it helps you retain the information, so you get a more of a clearer picture and a concise version of this if you really are hell-bent basically on getting your ex back, okay? So let me just go through with you a story of mine, and it's a story I've used quite a few times to illustrate this, when an ex wanted to get back together with me, right? So what happened was, it like been about a 3 or 4 weeks, I think, something like under a month, where we broke up, and I think she unfriended me on Facebook, right? She had unfriended me, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, I got a friend request from her, right? And at that point, I didn't really care that much, right? I was kind of done with that relationship because of many different reasons, but the main one being because I found out that she was actually a compulsive liar, and she was making up loads and loads of nonsense about her life that just simply wasn't true. Like, she'd faked having siblings, and she told me that one of them had killed themselves and stuff, like just making like so many just really dumb lies about her life. And I was over it, basically. So I was like, yeah, fine, I'll just, whatever, because she unfriended me to begin with anyway, so I might as well, right? So, I didn't really care that much. And then, after a while, I don't know if it was within like a few days, it may have even been the same day, but I can't quite remember, but she reached out to me and she messaged me saying, hey, how are you, basically, or something along those lines. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing okay, thanks. And we was like chatting for a bit, for like a few days. And I was actually considering, maybe we can like hang out again, maybe we should, maybe that'd be quite cool. And I was kind of umming and ahhing about, should we get back together? I'm not sure, right? But then I was kind of like remembering, right, what happened. And we nearly met up, like we nearly arranged to meet up. And then I backed out last minute because I realized that what am I doing? I shouldn't be trying to get back with this person. They literally lie about so many dumb things that they don't need to lie about. And I can't be with someone who just lies like that. There's just no way. So I was like, I don't know what I'm thinking. So that's and it never happened, basically. But that's what was happening. Like, that's how it happened. That's how an ex reached out to me when they missed me, when they wanted to get back together with me and wanted to rekindle things. That's what she did, right? So your ex will probably do something relatively similar, or maybe they'll do something in a different fashion. Like, they may not reach out to you on Facebook, they may reach to you out to you on WhatsApp, or they may call you up, or if they've still got your number. They may refollow you on Instagram or something like that, and then message you. But that's a really good sign, basically, that your ex wants to get back together with you, right? So, with all this being said, it's really important that you take into consideration whether or not it's a good idea to get back with your ex, like what I did, right? So my ex reached out to me, and we was nearly planning to meet up because I was kind of umming and ahhing about it. But then I had to stop myself and think, right, wait. This person's a huge red flag. They do all these kinds of things. Then they lie like this. It's not good. This is not good for me. I should not continue to entertain this conversation, entertain the idea of getting back with them. There's just no way, right? So you got to think of that too. You got to not look too much on the relationship with nostalgia, right? Because sometimes we look back on relationships at the beginning, when everything was good, but it's important to actually look at the end of the relationship too, when things weren't so great, when things were bad, when there was a lot more arguments and a lot more tears, and how you were feeling during that time. And what's interesting as well about breakups is that usually both people are thinking about breaking up with one another, usually, right? Not all the time. There are the rare circumstances where one person thinks everything is going great and the other person is like falling out of love, right? There is sometimes those kinds of situations, but usually both people are thinking about breaking up, right? They've both stopped putting their best foot forward. They're no longer trying to, please their partner, trying to look good for their partner. Both of them are thinking about escape and maybe looking back at their single life with nostalgia, thinking like, oh yeah, I kind of wish I could go back to my old life, things like that. And basically one person just falls out of love faster than the other one, and it gets to that point of this is it, the point of no return, right? And they're the one that usually breaks things off, right? Because and a lot in these dynamics, it's usually in the male female partnerships, it's usually the woman that comes to this conclusion much faster, because women tend to be a lot more emotional beings, and they can even sense when their man is kind of like clocking out and not really that interested anymore. But unfortunately, rejection breeds obsession. That's a quote by Tony Robbins. So when you do get rejected, when you do get dumped, right, sometimes you can really want your partner back, even though before you got broken up with, you was still thinking of like, can I find a way out of this? I'm still kind of like, I'd really like to be single again, right? So anyway, you've got to look back on the relationship like that. You've got to not just look back at the good times. You've got to look at the bad times as well, and give them even probably more analysis than the good times. Because every relationship is good, usually at the beginning, right? And because you're in the honeymoon period, right? And that's what people tend to look back on when they've ended their relationship. They look back on how, when things were good, But they don't look at the relationship when things were bad, right? So it's important to really, really take that into consideration and think about all the bad things that was going on in that relationship, right? And really, really, really take into consideration if it's a good idea to get back with your ex. Because usually, it's not a good idea, okay? I know it's a cliche saying, but your ex is an ex for a reason. And one of the reasons why cliche sayings are cliche is because there's always usually an element of truth to them. So if an ex is an ex for a reason, that's probably true, and it probably is true in your case as well. So just be very careful before taking back an ex, right? Really analyze the relationship. Don't just go back into something just because you're lonely, or you're looking back at the relationship with nostalgia. Really taking into consideration, is this a good move for me? Is it a good idea, right? Because most of the time it's not, okay? So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.